So I'm going to present Landmark House from the Ramboll perspective. As promised, nice pictures. So I'm a graduate engineer with Ramboll. I had the horrible realization that I've only been alive a little bit longer than these guys who've been engineers. So sorry. So I've been with Ramboll for so that's me. So some of you may not be familiar with Ramboll. We get that kind of often. So we're a Danish engineering company founded in Copenhagen in 1945, and we're part of the Ramboll Group, which is the global consultancy. The group's primary owner is the Ramboll Foundation, so this feeds into the Ramboll values and beliefs that we're taking a long-term perspective. Our mission is to create sustainable society where people can flourish, and that feeds really heavily into what Syria are about and what we're trying to achieve here. So our capabilities are wide-ranging in infrastructure and highways. Like we said, we work on things like HS2, large residential schemes, things like that. Within our team in London, we focus on a wide range of SuDS schemes, primarily in London and in Cambridge, but we also do international schemes and car parks and everything you can possibly imagine. So that's just a brief bit on Ramboll. So Landmark House, the client's Eastern and Oriental, who are an Asian hotel chain. This is their first project in the UK. So there's a sort of learning curve there. The architects are Roger Stoke Harbour and Partner, which if you're familiar with them are Hammersmith based. They're very much part of the Hammersmith community. Landscape architects Gillespie's, MEP Transport, FRA were done by Bureau Happold, and Ramboll did the civil and structural engineering. Cost consultants were Gardner and Theobald, that's no relation. And there were some other sort of key stakeholders to this project that were London Borough of Hammersmith, Fulham, Thames Water and the local residents. Due to the location of this site, the residents were very involved in what was happening and what this development will look like. So this is Hammersmith train station, and the site's bounded to the south by the flyover, and you've got St Paul's Church to the east, and Angel Walk, which is here, is a historic row of terraced houses built in the late 17th century. So quite highly constrained. Like Paul said, that's what it looks like at the moment. There are two buildings that were built at different times. One was built in the late 60s, one was built in the late 70s. They're partially derelict. So they're still occupied on some floors, but it's all, like Paul said, not really fit for purpose. There is large existing basements, and there are historic issues with subsidence. So in the mid-80s, a lot of underpinning works were undertaken. There are ventilation tunnels that go out into the car park. It's all made ground, so it's a whole host of underground obstruction. The surrounding sewer network is through combined sewers on almost every side. And an added intricacy is that red line shows the Thames Water ring main, which at its closest is only 12 metres from the development. They think it's about 35 metres deep where we're at, but it's going to pose a serious problem as we move forward. The basement of the proposed development occupies almost the entire site, so it's very restricted in that respect. The areas that do exist at the ground floor are limited, and the ground conditions are poor. It's made ground, and under that it's clay forever. So the probability of infiltrating is slim. So the proposed development is there are 3 towers. The one to the far right is the hotel, and that's the tallest tower, and then there are 2 office towers. At the ground floor level, it's public realm, cafe, retail, and underneath is cultural space. So the idea is this will provide accommodation for resident artists and to hold art galleries and things like that. So that's what it looked like. So the tallest tower is the hotel, and then the 2 office towers, and then to the far left-hand picture is Angel Walk. And that renders if you were stood on the Hammersmith flyover. So that really is quite how close it is. So this is as you look out onto Angel Walk. The whole scheme is about creating a literal landmark in Hammersmith. The idea is this will help create a benchmark for the redevelopment. So everything is aiming to be high quality and engaging. So we're trying to reduce the impact on Angel Walk, opening up this space. At the moment, it's just a car park, it's badly managed, it doesn't look very nice, so it's this high quality landmark project. So on the ground floor level, the main landscaping features are there are 3 garden areas in the east that face Angel Walk. Those are actually partially sheltered by the overhanging building. And then there are the trees to the south and west. And the 3 central garden areas are actually completely covered by the building. They're light wells because the lift shaft is glass. So it's about creating light in the basement for the entry to the lift shafts there. Again, that's the surrounding infrastructure. So, as I'm sure many of you are aware, we start by looking at the guidance. So from the London Plan, the National Planning Policy Framework, Local Planning Authority, so on and so forth. From our experience, we were targeting a 50% betterment in the original application. It's very constrained. Our space within the basement and externally was highly limited. So we start by looking at the sub-hierarchy. So these are the sort of like headline areas. So stormwater for later use. No scope for rainwater harvesting was originally identified with MEP and services. The ground conditions and limited external space meant that it is going to be next to impossible to infiltrate directly into the ground. There are very limited external areas to accommodate open water features. We discussed rills and things like that, but because the site is going to create a link across the area, they are going to pose a trip hazard almost anywhere we put them. And then finally, storage for gradual release to a sewer. So that is where we end up. So this is the original proposal. This is said underground attenuation tank located within the basement of the site. The pink line here is the extent of the basement. So you can see it goes right up to the public footway. Here are areas of rain garden with below ground attenuation to collect water from the edge of the site. So with this scheme, we were looking at a discharge rate of about 58 litres per second in the high intensity rains events. As Paul said, we had some comments. Thames Water response was that the site's located within the Counters Creek critical catchment area. This meant that it was not going to be acceptable to them that we did a 58 litres per second. It was also not going to be acceptable to them that we did 5 litres per second. We were going to have to do true greenfield runoff rate in all flood events. The sewers are too adjacent to the site, we're at capacity. We're discharging to a foul combined sewer, so we have to be really careful. The cost consultants did the full costing of the whole project, and we were about 70% over budget. So there was a lot of pressure on everyone at that point. Response to the architectural design, through the ongoing consultation with the local residents, the tallest tower was reduced in height by 6 stories, and they integrated green roofs into the project through that iteration. So that design iteration meant, and the comments from London Hammersmith, meant we were going for a full design iteration across the project. So, as Paul covered, we had to target the greenfield runoff rate. The use of a single tank was not desirable. We needed to move away from that concrete basement attenuation tank, and we needed to consider measures at podium and above, and maintenance information must be provided. So, the new architect's design meant that the catchments were getting slightly more complicated. The orange represents the areas of green roof, and then we had regular roof, podium level, and then rain garden. And then that big orange hatch is an exposed sunken garden that goes down to the B2 level. So the new scheme is we provide 307 cubic metres of attenuation, and these are through linked sub-base replacement attenuation crates, and then a small attenuation tank that serves the sunken garden area. So these function in some areas as a permeable pavement, some areas as a rain garden, and the roof runoff will also be directed into them. So they're interlinked and they run south to north. The topography of the site, north is the top of the hill and south is the bottom of the hill. So we had to model them quite carefully to maximise that upstream storage, which was the major issue because this is actually the bulk of the volume we could get there. Outfall was restricted using a single hydro break just prior to the outgoing manhole. Some people may recognise these images. So we're using a situation very similar to this, that we'll run off the roof and then into the attenuation crates and through the flow control. And the inflow method varies for where it is on site because it's so constrained, there are multiple restrictions. So in terms of how we improved the design, we also further coordinated with the MEP engineers and the wider design team. This level of attenuation, level of betterment we were achieving needed to be feasible. So the MEP engineers coordinated with us and we included rainwater harvesting. Its scope is not extensive, it doesn't provide the majority of it, but it provides some betterment. Infiltration is still not really possible. Ponds and open features, again, not possible or practicable, but we did provide improved storage solutions to a greater level, a bit more of an innovative approach. So the key challenges were, as most people know, balancing what is practicable and what the client is willing to do with the expectations of Thames Water and the lead local flood authority. Balancing the client's and the architect's vision. Roger Stoke Harbour are very, very involved in the overall look of this project. It's a flagship project. It's going to be a defining building in Hammersmith when it's done, and it's very important to them due to its proximity of where they started. So everything that we do had to be integrated with that vision. The programme was enormously tight, and this is where the collaboration with Paul really came in. Because of the length of time we had to turn around the second design, Paul had to compromise some of his consultation period, which he very graciously did. So we began reading him in to all of the design decisions that we were making. I'd call him up and send him markups of where we were going, so that when we got to that resubmittal, we could be sure that it was going to meet Paul's expectations and that there weren't going to be any surprises for him, and he could optimise looking at it by identifying where we have made changes and where we haven't made changes. An added complication was there was no third-party project manager on this. It was managed primarily by the planner, but that's not their expertise, so coordination became quite a challenge in areas, and for me personally, it really highlights the value gained in good project management, in streamlining some of the coordination process. So the key successes were collaborating with both the design team to achieve Roger's vision, and collaborating with London, the Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham to create a scheme that is acceptable to them. And the other challenge was, I feel we really had the opportunity to gain investment from the wider team in the importance of the SuDS strategy. Quite a lot of people that we work with on a daily basis don't appreciate that this really is a go or no-go decision on the SuDS strategy in places like Hammersmith and Fulham where the flooding is such an issue. And I don't know, we'll see in years to come whether I did make a difference on that or not, but I feel like a lot of people gained an understanding for the real importance of this. So yeah, lessons learned. Early consultation would have paid off. If we had gone through a formal pre-app process, we'd have probably avoided that iteration change. We'd have front-loaded the work up into the pre-app process. We would have had earlier consultation with the LFA and Thames Water. There was also no allowance for time in the programme that was standing for these issues, so everything became critical in the process. And it's, again, I'm sure everyone's heard it hundreds of times before, but building that slack in would have allowed us to deal with the issues as they came rather than everything building up as we went through. And yeah, the awareness of the importance of SuDS. It's essential for gaming buy-in. Architects who have an appreciation for the level of attenuation, the level of betterment, what a swale looks like, means that they can incorporate that in their vision. But thank you.